good morning. Happy Wednesday. Got my coffee here. Actually, don't remember what I bought this week at the store. Don't remember what I ground up this morning, but I am enjoying it, giving me that pick me up this Wednesday morning, this hump day, this middle of the day, middle of the morning, middle of the week. I thank you for joining me for just a few quick minutes as we continue our task of wandering through, looking at the big picture story of the Bible. We want to see what we can learn about who God is and what He has revealed to us, and beyond that, just the amazing and intricate way He has revealed Himself through this book we call the Bible and the story that it records of His activity in history. And we're at a key moment this morning as we started last week with the activity of God. It is the second book of the Bible, Exodus, and the Exodus of the children of Israel from Egypt is such a formative moment in history. It is one of those things that echoes throughout the entirety of Scripture, this idea that God liberates us, that God frees us, that God saves us, as He did for the children of Israel. This is the moment in their history that is formative. It echoes throughout all of the literature of the Hebrew Bible that sometimes we call the Old Testament. And in that is a very important spot. Last week we saw the last of the plagues, the 10 plagues, primarily the one that is celebrated even to this day in the Passover, how God used that plague to finally get Pharaoh to release the children of Israel. And today we pick up with what happens because the children of Israel leave Egypt. That after the death of the firstborn of all the people, and they're spared because of the blood on their doorpost, they are sent out, and they gather actually from many of the citizens of Egypt all sorts of supplies that they need for their journey, and they're sent off. They're released from their slavery. They're released and given their freedom. And Moses is their leader. And he heads off. But more than Moses leading them, we learn in the story of their journey that God Himself leads them. And He does it uniquely through a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, which would be pretty remarkable. A pillar of cloud, particularly in that part of the world, would give shelter from the boiling hot sun. A pillar of fire would also be something they could follow, maybe some kind of warmth for the evening if you want to look at the practical implications of it. Really remarkable to think about that. But God leads them out. And the story of their leaving is very interesting because it says in Exodus 14 that the way God leads them isn't the short way. Now, we're always looking for a shortcut, right? What's the shortest way from point A to point B? It's a straight line. And for the children of Israel, a straight line to where they were going would take them through the territory of the Philistines. The Philistines, we know, show up a lot later in the story of Israel. Goliath is a Philistine and others. And these become key enemies or nemesises of Israel. Is that a word, nemesis? There's a lot of isses. Anyway, key enemies of Israel. But here, having just been freed from slavery, God doesn't lead them on the short way because it would take them to the Philistine territory and would almost guarantee war. But because they're not equipped for that, because they've just been slaves, because they're not a well-trained army, and maybe some other reasons we could talk about, God doesn't lead them that way, and He takes them a more circuitous route. And as He takes them there, what happens over the course of their journey, and it details the where and the when. You can look at a map and do all that Google stuff and find it. But what happens is that after they've left, Pharaoh and the Egyptian leadership realize we were stupid. We've just let our entire labor force go. These people that have allowed Egypt to prosper because of their slavery to them. And so they decide, let's get the chariots together. Let's go get them back. And so they set out in pursuit of the children of Israel. And this is kind of the moment that Charlton Heston, I don't know why that's it, the Ten Commandments movie, Charlton Heston immortalized in that movie as the army of Pharaoh seeks to pursue Israel. Israel on this journey is in a pickle. They've come to a dead end because their journey has led them to the Red Sea in front of them. And so what they have is they have in front of them this body of water, behind them the pursuing army of Pharaoh. And so they are it says specifically terrified. They panicked. They're like, what's going to do? Were there not enough graves in Egypt that God brought us out here so that we could kill us? I mean, they just can't make heads or tail of this. They are in an impossible situation. Even though God has delivered them, even through the plagues and all that he has done, now in this moment, they think it's the end. But it's in that moment that Moses steps up. God encourages Moses to raise his staff. There's that Charlton Heston moment. He raises his staff, and the waters of the Red Sea part before the children of Israel. And one of the things that it says here in Exodus 14:14 is Moses tells them, after he tells them, do not be afraid, which is a great thing to say because they were pretty afraid. By the way, an aside, a reminder, even though there's this popular meme or whatever going around on social media that 365 times the Bible says do not be afraid, it's actually not that many, but it is a reminder that we don't need to be afraid when God is on our side. Back to the story. He says, do not be afraid. Stand still, for the Lord himself will fight for you. You need only to be still. Now that is the opposite of anything any of us would ever do, to be still, to stand firm. When an army is bearing down on you and you're certain that they're going to be coming soon and just crushing you, it's hard to stand still. It's hard to not do anything. But that was the instructions. Don't be afraid. The Lord will fight for you. All you need to do is stand still. And so the waters part, and the people of Israel walk across the Red Sea, what was the Red Sea, now on dry ground. And when they get to the other side, Moses lowers his staff, and the waters of the Red Sea come crashing back together and crashing in on Pharaoh and his army and drown the army of the Egyptians. God says, you will never see the Egyptians again, but I will fight for you. And he, in fact, does. The children of Israel win a great victory over the army of Pharaoh without ever needing to pick up a weapon, without ever having the first fight at all. God fights for them. It is a moment that defines for many of their generations in the future who they are, that God rescued them, that God fights for them, that God leads them. And it becomes a seminal event in their history, an important thing. But what it reminds us of, if we look forward, this great miracle of the parting of the Red Sea and the delivery of God's people and the fact that God fights for them, it's a reminder that is the story of all of our salvation. That's the redemption story that is in the Bible from beginning to end. Because while we weren't literally slaves in Egypt as the children of Israel were, the Bible calls us slaves to sin, that because of our tendency to turn away from God, to do things our own way, to disobey his rules, his law, to go against his very character and nature, we are separated from him. We are lost in our sin. We are dead in our sin. We are in need of salvation. And our salvation is accomplished not by anything we do, but it's accomplished because the Lord fights for us. He fights for us fully, finally, and ultimately when he sends his son Jesus, who takes upon himself the full curse of the law, the punishment of the law, as he goes to the cross to die, so that we might be freed from that curse of the law, and by his resurrection becomes the source of our salvation, the reminder that God has accepted his sacrifice, and that sacrifice is able to bring forgiveness to all who will believe in him. And again, we are saved from ourselves, from our sin, from spiritual death, not by anything we do, but by placing faith in what God has done through Jesus Christ, because God fought for us, just like he fought for the children of Israel. That theme becomes so important. And the theme of a deliverer and God's deliverance is echoed fully and ultimately in the story of the deliverance that is available to all who place their faith in Jesus. And as I say every time we have these little chats on Wednesday, that is what we talk about every time we get together. The deliverance that is made possible, the salvation that is made possible, the forgiveness that comes through faith in Jesus Christ. And that's why we encourage you, come learn about what it means to follow Jesus. Learn what it means to place your faith in him and become his disciple. We're all learning this together. Nobody has arrived. All of us, those of us who are new to this thing called the Christian faith and those who have been following Jesus for decades, All of us are disciples. We're learners. We're learning together. And that's why we gather. That's why we worship together, to thank Him for what He has done and to encourage each other to take the next step along the journey of faith. And we would love to have you join us Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. That's when we get together here at our church. We'd love to have you be here. Of course, we're going to keep doing this every Wednesday. We're going to see this big picture story of the God who fights for us, the God who delivers us, as it leads us to the point where God sends Jesus. And I hope you'll stick around for all of it. It's going to take us a while, but we'll get there. And I hope the journey will be worth that time that we will spend in it. So I'm going to leave that with you today. Basically about done with that cup. I don't know if there's another cup in my future or not. There might be, but I appreciate you spending this time. I thank you for your time. I hope you have a great Wednesday, and I hope to see you maybe this Sunday.